Good morning. My name is Susan Nelson, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Duluth, as well as a trained and certified League of Women Voters moderator. I have the pleasure of moderating this forum today. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Duluth, I'd like to welcome everyone. The League of Women Voters is pleased to present this general issues pre-election forum for the office of Mayor of Duluth. Thank you, candidates, for your willingness to participate in local government and in this event. The League of Women Voters believes that an informed citizenry is the foundation of effective democracy. The League is open to membership for men and women who are interested in nonpartisan civic participation. The League of Women Voters Duluth realizes that creative and innovative policies and practices are forged out of diverse points of view. We believe diverse perspectives are necessary for responsible and representative decision-making. Let's pause to acknowledge our commitment to welcome and facilitate diversity, equity, and inclusion in all aspects of our work. We strive to include people from a mix of abilities and backgrounds in all of our activities. You're invited to join us. For information, check our website at www.lwvduluth.org. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan volunteer organization that works at the local, state, and national level to encourage citizens to participate in government. While we as a league do study and take stands on issues, we do not endorse or support political parties or candidates. The views expressed at today's forum are those of the participating candidates and not those of the League of Women Voters of Duluth. Additionally, LWV's sponsorship of this forum is not a league endorsement of any individual candidates participating. Please remember to exercise your right to vote in the primary election on Tuesday, August 8th. At this time, I'd like to introduce the candidates. We have candidate Roger Reinert, candidate Emily Larson, and candidate Julie Mead. The forum will begin with the candidates giving a 2-minute opening statement, followed by the questioning round. Questions have been vetted by our Voter Services Committee. Candidates were not given the questions in advance. Each candidate will be given up to 1.5 minutes in which to provide their response. The questioning round has been set up so that each candidate will be asked questions in a rotating order. The order in which candidates will respond was determined at random, and we will rotate the responses throughout the forum. After the questioning round is completed, each candidate will be allowed a 2-minute closing statement. So we'll now begin with opening statements, and we'll move to candidate Reinert.
Well, thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting today's forum, to Emily and Julie for also participating. I thought I would start by just introducing myself a little bit. So I am Roger Reinert, candidate for mayor. I'm 52. I'm a West Hillside resident. I'm a dog dad to Leo. In my day job, I'm a licensed attorney with a small practice focusing primarily on local units of government and their state associations. I teach adjunct at the College of St. Scholastica, and I'm also a currently serving commander in the U.S. Navy. I have some past elected service, including 5 years on the Duluth City Council, where I had the opportunity to serve twice as the council president and also mayor pro tem. I also served 3 terms in the state legislature, 1 in the state house and 2 in the state senate, choosing not to run again in 2016. Since we launched our campaign last January, we've had over 1,000 one-on-one and small group conversations with Duluthians, and 2 things have been really clear in those conversations. One is that the community is ready for something different. And the other is that there are 5 big issues that Duluthians are concerned about: housing, commercial tax-based development, streets, downtown Duluth, and affordable property taxes. Something else we did when we launched our campaign in January was talk about our campaign theme of expect more, do better. Even in the way we campaign, something I think is aligned with the League of Women Voters, we want to expect more and do better. The change in tone and tenor that we want can begin in Duluth, and it can begin right now. For the first time since 2007, we have multiple well-qualified candidates running for the office of mayor. That's a win for Duluth and a win for democracy. So thank you again for having me here today. I look forward to our conversation.
Thank you. All right. Next will be candidate Larson.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you to the League of Women Voters. Thank you to PACT-TV. Having a forum like this where we can talk about issues, candidates can discuss their strengths, the challenges of this community, our hopes and dreams is so important. And I know it's important to you because you have let me know. I am seeking re-election for mayor of Duluth because the successes that we have built are our successes. When I took office, I made a commitment to you and to this community to take on issues that are generational in nature and require our full commitment to solve. When I took office, we were doing 2 miles of streets per year. We're now doing 17. That's an 850% increase in streets. We have seen a 22% decrease in crime citywide. We have decreased greenhouse gases 32%, and we are in our 3rd straight record year of private investment. These are the successes upon which we're building generational opportunity in this community. I first discovered Duluth when I was 5 years old. It was the only vacation my family and I ever took, and I chose this community 12 years later when I was 17. On a scholarship from the College of St. Scholastica, which is how I got my college education. I chose this community 32 years ago. Like many of you, I continue to choose. And I am excited, I am so excited that the voters in this election have a very clear choice about the vision and about the direction of this community. Because who leads in this role as mayor, it matters. It matters in how people experience the community. It matters in how people grow. It matters in how people invest. And it matters in how we develop and change. I am thrilled to be here today to talk about the issues that matter. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll proceed to candidate Mead.
Hi, my name is Julie Mead, and I was born and raised in Duluth. My maiden name is Hildry. I'm running because I don't like the direction of Duluth. I grew up, and in the neighborhood where I grew up, it's just not the same. I am not a public speaker, I'm so sorry. I live in an area where I have a great view of Duluth, but I don't feel safe enough walking around the neighborhood. There's been numerous shootings. We just had a robbery by gunpoint. We had a man who was assaulted, and that needs to stop. There's ways that we can do it with not oppressing anybody and making sure that our community is safe. I want to make sure that our core services are taken care of, snow blowing, sidewalks. We used to do the sidewalks in Duluth, and we're not doing that anymore, and I think that needs to change. We need better enforcement of it. If somebody is not snow blowing, it's not just a fee on their taxes the next year, it's getting it done now. It's changing it, so if they're not doing the snow blowing, so people can walk around the neighborhoods, something needs to be done immediately. Everybody should be able to get around Duluth in any way that they want to, whether it's by vehicles, walking, bus, whatever, but they've also got to get to the bus stops too. And there were so many bus stops that weren't plowed out and available. I want transparency. Everything should be transparent in Duluth. When I was a Friedenberg supervisor, I had everybody that wanted to be in the know sign up for emails. So I sent out emails to everybody, and I was transparent. Everybody knew what was going on, and I think that's what needs to happen in Duluth.
Thank you. All right, now let's see if I can reset my timer here to 1 minute and 30 seconds. Okay. All right, thank you for your opening statements. So now we'll share some of the questions that have been solicited and submitted by the organizing committee and questions that were submitted to the League of Women Voters website. And the rotation changes, so our first question will go to candidate Mead.
Okay.
The question is, what is one of the most important challenges facing our city?
Gentrification. We need to have housing for everybody, and I've been researching gentrification for a very long time, and it's got to start from the bottom up, not from the top down. We have to, I was taking notes this morning off of, I was watching a bunch of TED Talks from 2:30 to 6:30 this morning, and they were talking about how neighborhoods can actually be revitalized without gentrification, without raising the property taxes and still having the tax base, bringing businesses in, and we can do that. How much longer do I have?
A minute?
Okay, okay. Well then, in a lot of cities, the nonprofits are actually renovating. They are making sure that legacy residents can afford to build wealth for their future. If people can't buy their own houses, if they're stuck renting from somebody where they have no control over their lives, they've got to do inspections when the, when the property managers say so. They don't build wealth. A house gives you the freedom to do whatever you want to. And I think we should strive to make that affordable for everybody. Let's see, I am not good at this. It's harder for people to climb the socioeconomic ladder to be able to afford the restaurants and the shops that are gentrifying their neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you. Same question will go to candidate Larson.
Great. Did you want to reread it, or do you
Yes.
want me to just go? Okay.
Well, it's one of the most important challenges facing the city.
Great. Thank you for the question. I have been door knocking since January of this year, and you have let me know what's important to you, and here's what you're telling me. It is housing. It is making sure that we are adding to the housing stock. In my administration, we've added 1,700 new units of housing. That is more than has ever been added in that same time period. You're worried about infrastructure and streets. This year, we've got a full seasonal crew of 30 people. That's more than we've ever had. This year, we will get to every primary and secondary street, and that includes the 850% increase we're already doing. You've let me know that you're worried. My very first door knock in January was about lead pipes. We have launched a program that is now the model for the state of Minnesota to get the lead out of our water. And finally, you're sharing with me about childcare and mental health. You are deeply worried about your neighbors, and you're deeply worried about your economic mobility. These are the kinds of programs and investments and task forces that I have done and led. We will be launching the childcare task force later this year. We are 1,300 childcare slots down in this community. That is a crisis for working families, and that is a crisis that is keeping especially women out of the workforce. And that is also an economic development issue. So finally, the last thing that we need to continue to work on is to continue to grow our tax base through industrial and manufacturing tax-based development. We need to accelerate housing, and we need to continue to stabilize an economy that can work for everybody.
Thank you. And candidate Reinert.
Great. Thank you so much. And first of all, Julie, you're doing a great job. So,
I agree.
So in my opening, I talked about several issues, but I think the question was really meant to have us pick one. And while difficult to do, I'll talk a little bit about the problem we're having with growing our commercial tax base. And Duluth has a reputation as a difficult place to do business. And that becomes a problem for one really big reason. Commercial tax base contributes significantly to our local tax base pool. So when we want to do streets, when we want to do improvements downtown, when we want to have an affordable tax base or tax burden to our residential homeowners, we really have to come back and look at our commercial tax base. And when we have that difficult reputation and have to use tools like tax increment financing or tax abatement in order to lure big projects and have significant development opportunities, that's local property taxes that are not going to be collected for some period of time, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. And we see the burden shift to residential. We saw it last fall with a 7.9% property tax increase. We have to be really serious about growing our commercial tax base, which means we have to be serious about having a culture in Duluth of yes. You have a project you want to do, we have permitting, we have zoning. In between that is yes. How do we move those projects forward and move them forward quickly? Because right now they get through in our neighboring communities in a much faster pace. So both Hermantown and Superior have become real competitors to Duluth.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is going to sound like a follow-up to what we've just been talking about, and it's on the business climate.
Good.
What do you see as the greatest challenge to starting and/or growing a business in the city? And what, if anything, should the city government do to make it easier? And this question first goes to candidate Larson.
Oh, great. Okay, well, thank you for the question. This is exactly the question I sought to ask in my State of the City for 2022 when I announced an economic development audit, which we conducted with well over 200 stakeholders across the community. We met with developers, we met with contractors, we met with permit holders who had just come in to get their own permit for their own housing project. We wanted to ask that specific question. What is it that we can do better? What is it that we're doing well? And where do we need to amplify? So those results are in. And we're compiling and presenting those results already to the community as we are hiring for a new economic development director who will strive to lead this community with deep vision. What we need to be doing to expand our tax base is to continue to provide the supports that a city does, right? Like we do permitting, we do inspections, we do those very, very well. We do those to the state building code, which is our requirement, and we're really proud that we are in our third record year of private investment. This is a community that people want to do their business and investment in. We have $1 billion hospital that is just finishing up. We have got hundreds of new units of housing coming online. I am excited to continue to grow our industrial, our manufacturing, the Cirrus Innovation Project up at the airport. There's many things we're doing well. What we need to improve on is our communication and engagement with you, and that's something that I'm really excited for us to be able to do as we move forward.
All right, thank you. The same question of business climate and what the city can do to make it easier will go next to candidate Reinert.
Great, thank you. Yeah, building on the last question that we talked about, again, perception can be reality, and unfortunately the perception that people have of Duluth is that it's a difficult place to do business. And when you talk to people, you hear the same consistent stories. And it doesn't matter if it is a $1 billion project in our downtown or it's a young woman who's trying to do a one-chair salon in her home in West Duluth. It's a problem of being told no. It's a problem of a non-answer, or worse, a problem of no response. It's a problem of taking months to get through a project. This young woman that I met with who was trying to do a one-chair salon in her home told me a story of how it took 7 months to get that project done, thousands of dollars to move through the project, and at the end of telling me her story with exasperation, she said, "This is not what I do. I cut hair." We need to have a better attitude in our staff, and we do have a great opportunity with the untimely loss of Chris Fleege to have leadership there that has an attitude of yes, how do we get your project done? And we also have to focus, it's great to have significant investment in our community, but that significant investment has to contribute to our property tax base. So large investments that don't build on property tax only shift that burden to existing businesses and to our residential homeowners. And again, we've seen that shift taking place in recent years with significant tax levies.
Okay, thank you. And the same question then for candidate Mead.
Well, I've owned businesses. I was kind of the Friedenberg mini mall. I had everything. I had a hair salon, art studio, art gallery. I had massage therapists, I had tanning, I taught pottery classes. If I would have known how well my business was gonna do, I would have expanded right away. I would have put in more stations and more tanning rooms and everything, but I just had no idea. And out in Friedenberg, it was really easy. Basically, when I called and said, "How hard is it to open up a hair salon?" And they said, "Oh, just go ahead." And I was like, "No," I said, "there's got to be state codes and everything." And she was like, "I don't think so." So I said, okay. So I talked with the people down at the city of Duluth planning, and there was a lot more codes that I had to jump through and everything. But it wasn't miserable. It was I think one of the most important things is that it can't be arbitrary. It's got to be the same for everybody across the board. We've got to solicit business. We've got to bring in, we've got to ask the citizens, what do you want? Do you want to be industrial? Do you want a mix of everything? And then give them what they want. Push for it. I have moved mountains in my life. I have fought through my law degree against my abusive ex-husband all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States. I will move mountains, I swear to God. So just give me the chance.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to another area that's of concern to citizens in Duluth, and that is housing. I have a couple questions on that subject. So when it comes to affordable housing, how is the city doing? What ideas do you have for continued construction with a focus on low-income individuals? And the first to answer that question will be candidate Mead.
Okay, in my research about gentrification and everything, on one of the TED Talks, it says that the government, it starts with the mayor and the city council because they're involved in everything. Everything goes through them, the planning department, everything. All of the rules happens through them, so they control if we're getting gentrified, if we're bringing in, big business, if we're helping the low income. And, the house that was built on 6th Avenue, for $195,000. I've been following incredible tiny homes for about 8 years. I had such a horrible landlord that I just thought, I'm just going to buy a tiny home because I can't take this anymore. None of the repairs were ever getting done. When I would push for the city inspector to come, he would tell me that I would have to move, and it's like, I can't afford to move, but I have one more move in me, and that was it. And so I started looking into this company. Well, they go to all kinds of communities throughout the country, and they started with a model for an 8x20. They can build them on a slab. They can build them raised with wheels, whatever you want. They actually have tiny homes that come together for $20,000. And now, this year, they've raised them to $25,000, but they're fantastic. And I would look into more of that. I would solicit somebody to come in here and do that. But I would first solicit local builders first. There's got to be a way to do it, and a lot of them are going through community.
Thank you.
Sure.
The same question then would go to candidate Larson.
Great. Thank you so much. This is one of the issues, housing is one of the issues where you have a very, very clear choice. We have invested significantly in affordability. I think many people know that my professional work started at CHUM, where I served and worked directly with people who had housing instability or were unhoused. That is part of the foundation of my work. Since taking office, we've added 1,700 new units of housing citywide. We have invested $19 million directly into affordability, from expanding warming center hours to storage options to fundamentally funding and keeping housing prices affordable. We have created a housing trust fund worth $16 million in partnership with LISC, Local Initiative Support Corporation. All of those ideas came out of my mayor's housing task force, which was co-convened by Northspan and the Northland Foundation. And some of those ideas also came from my governor's housing task force that I was appointed to by Governor Dayton. So this is one of those areas where housing creation is a real distinction and a real separator, and there is a clear choice in two ways. One is one of my opponents as a city councilor defunded affordable housing and voted against a housing trust fund. That kind of leadership on this issue is not going to pull us forward. It's only going to pull us back. The second is we can build while also incentivizing with project labor agreements, which is a requirement of my administration that has protected 2 million work hours in this community through 156 different projects in the last 4 years. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And next, we will go to candidate Reinert.
Great, thank you. First of all, despite the national news that the tiny house for $195,000 has made, I do applaud the administration for investing in affordable housing. The $19 million referenced out of the COVID dollars and other resources going into affordable housing, I think, was an important investment. However, now is the time to shift towards the middle of the market. We really have to take a focus of housing across all income levels. One of the challenges we have in Duluth is that the market is stuck in the middle. And those who have the resources can overbuy and overrent, continuing to put downward pressure on the existing housing stock, creating a growing pool of those who need affordable housing. So if we only focus on affordable, I don't think we'll ever catch up. So one of the things that the city can do, because it's not the city's job to build houses, is to focus on the necessary infrastructure. Right now we have major employers that are looking at pooling money in order to pay for infrastructure. I think that is a job that the city can take leadership on. What I would encourage is those employers to look at helping buy down purchase price when their employees close on a home, with the contingency that if they move or sell within the first 5 or 7 years, it goes back to the employer so that they can resell to another employee. I would also like to see us work more closely with the county to regain tax forfeited homes and invest those in the land trust model, proven model for permanent affordability.
Thank you. We will go to another housing-related question. And it is, the San Marcos Apartments is a model for caring for vulnerable adults in a setting that is both safe and monitored. What initiatives would you support to address the needs of people who are without shelter and lacking services and resources in our city? And this question will first go to candidate Reinert.
Great. Well, thanks so much. I had the opportunity to serve on the city council when we moved the San Marco project forward. In fact, in my 2005 election, it was the controversial issue, and I was supportive of this San Marco supportive housing project. I do think that it's proven to be very successful. Those who were critics of it then have become supporters now, including our law enforcement, and I'm very proud to have their endorsement and support in this election. I do think that we have a missing gap between crisis services and long-term care. And jail and emergency room beds are neither effective nor affordable options. And short of the state reestablishing a regional treatment center system, which if we were to go back in time, I think we would not have disbanded, us coming up with something similar to the San Marco to provide supportive care for those struggling with opioid or especially fentanyl addiction is critical for our community. When we look at individuals that are on the finding street as an option or tent encampments as an option, it's because we don't have long-term supportive care. So something where people can be safe, people can be in a decent housing option, and also have the opportunity to potentially grow out of mental health or addiction issues is something that I'm very supportive of, and we want to work at both the state level, also with our county partners, to move a local project forward and reestablish a state system that provides much-needed mental health care.
Thank you. We'll have the same question for next for candidate Mead.
Okay, yes, absolutely. I think it's a safe community is a housed community. We need to get all of the homeless people off the streets, and there's ways to do that. I don't know why we couldn't use tax forfeited land and buildings that aren't being used. And you know, the Duluth News Tribune building right now is for sale, and I actually thought that that would make a great battered women's home. But I'm almost thinking that those would be better off the site from the Justice Center. So I don't understand why the city couldn't do that. Hire a few workers, and even if the people are housed in a building in sleeping bags or whatever, it's better than them being out in the elements and dying. There's got to be a way to do it. I haven't done as much research in that. There's a homeless guy down in down in Canal Park somewhere that I just love. He's just a sweetheart. I call him Santa Claus. I bring things to him, and I asked him, "What do you want?" And he said, "I want a roof over my head." So I started contacting Deb Holman, and can you please get him a roof? The people down at the Marine Museum are helping him, and these aren't awful people. They have gone through hardships. I became homeless because of my abusive ex-husband and the judge. I had family to take me in, but not everybody has that. We need to stop that.
Okay, thank you for that. And our next question will shift gears a bit.
I think I get to answer the question still.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for keeping me on my toes
Thank you
here.
for the opportunity.
Yes. Go ahead.
Great. Well, I am a mayor that is focused on solutions with lasting impact. And my very first time I spoke at a city council meeting was in support of the San Marco. I was one of the board members that formulated the plan and got that project, the community support, the financial support, the legal, the police support to get it over the finish line. And it was my very first work in activation on the community to make sure that people are housed. That project has fundamentally connected people back to their families. It has created sobriety. We need 2 more of those projects in our community. I would propose one for chemical health, and I would propose one for mental health. And both of those are going to require the relationships that we need on the state of Minnesota. The Minnesota Housing Finance Project now has $1 billion they are working with for housing. When they are looking for innovative projects to invest their money across the state, they call my office because they know that we are a leader in this area. So this is where both the relationships, the vision, the capacity, the tenacity, the persistence to deliver, and the ability to tell the story on the part of your community will really matter. Because housing projects like San Marco, while they transform people's lives, are incredibly expensive. And they should be, because taking care of people who need our help and support really, really matters. These are our daughters, our sons, our mothers, our fathers. I am really excited to be tenacious about making sure that people who need these supports are getting exactly what they need and that they have an advocate with positive relationships with statewide leaders to get it done.
Thank you. Now we will move on to a new area, and it is libraries. Public libraries are critical to the social fabric of a democratic society, especially in these times of economic disparities, misinformation, and political polarization. The City of Duluth, in conjunction with the Duluth Library Foundation, the Duluth Public Library Board, and Friends of the Library, has embarked on a process to update the downtown library facility to address critical infrastructure and accessibility issues. A new facility would contribute to downtown revitalization, including the Northern Lights Express project. What is your position on investing in the Duluth Public Library in general and specifically supporting the investment in the downtown facility? And we will begin with candidate Larson.
Well, I fully support this concept because it was one that I have helped to shape. As we have seen during the pandemic, public resources are critical. Keeping people connected socially, providing literacy opportunities, giving our community a chance to be together in a way that you don't need to pay, you don't need a membership, doesn't matter what your zip code is, doesn't matter what your day job is. When I was raising my sons who went to Nettleton and Grant Elementary schools, the library downtown was one of the only places we saw everybody. The building is failing. It is more costly to run it and heat it than it is to fix it. Our staff needs safety supports, and we are providing safety in-house with their ideas and funding them fully. We are implementing early readiness with families, and we're creating important opportunities for the community to meet. Investing in that facility is critical. It is a critical message to our downtown that we are in this revitalization with you. Now is the time to build off of $194 million we just got for Northern Lights Express that is going to go in across the street. Or the Ordine building is seeing a transformation that we'll hear about very soon. The infrastructure in our downtown is ready. And this is when the city gets to step up with the library, with our workforce development partners, with our community, with our health partners to say our community matters. It is top of mind that we provide these opportunities across the community. And I am so excited to have this giant coalition on board to get this done.
Thank you. Next on the subject of the library will be candidate Reinert.
Thank you. And I'm a big fan of the Duluth Library. I'm a big fan of libraries in general, having started life as a high school teacher, having been an educator throughout most of my career, primarily at the college level. The 2 questions I have about the Duluth Library are, where does it rank in terms of our other priorities? And is it a project where we need to continue to go it alone? When we talk about whether it's the top priority we want to take to the legislature or ask for bonding dollars on, I have to be honest and say that it's not. I mean, we have an opportunity with one-party control of the legislature, record budget surpluses, to be asking for lifetime generational investments in streets and utilities, the basic core infrastructure of our community. And it's what Duluthians are asking for. And it's also doesn't mean that all of the things that were just said about the library are untrue. They are true. And it is an important investment in our downtown. But when you go back in Duluth's history, we made a decision to do our own library system. And that's not the way that most library systems are now. They're confederated library systems that are integrated across regions. The Hennepin County Library System is a great example. I would advocate that we work with St. Louis County and with the Arrowhead Regional Library System to incorporate the Duluth Library into that system. We know from the usership, because I looked at these numbers when I was in the legislature, that fully half of our users don't actually live in the city of Duluth. So it's time to have that burden shared amongst the population that actually uses and accesses the Duluth Library.
All right, thank you. And candidate Mead on the library.
Yes. I think the computer lab at the library is, it's awesome. Everybody, no matter your income, can go and use it, and I think that's really important. I know that there's been issues with safety for the workers there, so we've got to find a way to keep them safe. I don't know if it's having more police there as a police presence so that they think twice about harming anybody. I think that it's a really great resource, but I'm just not sure of what Mayor Larson is talking about. When I've talked to people, they don't have the support for the whole project that she's doing. I honestly don't know the answer. I guess I don't know why that couldn't be, because it's so important, and it is a Duluth thing, that it couldn't be like a referendum question, in the next election. Do you want to do this, or do you not want to? Because it's expensive. It's millions and millions of dollars. And yeah, I kind of think that even if we spent more money on the satellite, libraries, Mount Royal, West Duluth and everything, then we could actually spend more money on roads and everything to actually even get there. I mean, we need new roads. And I just don't see why we can't figure out a way to kind of incorporate everything, so.
Okay, thank you. Our next question will be on a different subject. 2024 is a bonding year at the legislature. What would be your top 2 or 3 bonding priorities? And that question first goes to candidate Mead.
Roads, definitely roads. Not a doubt in my mind that it's the roads. I was driving around. I do that every few days. As I take my dog and we drive around through the streets and go to the parks and everything. And I would fix Cascade Park. A week ago, Sunday, on Monday, we took pictures of the failing wall. We went there Friday morning, and it had fallen down. And I didn't even have a chance to talk to the city about it. I had talked to, well, that's not true. There was a young man that was actually, it's eroding so bad that the grass is growing up over the patio area that was there. So he was ripping that up, and it was looking fantastic. And then a couple days later, there was another man that was there, and he was building picnic tables, but the wall fell down. Cascade is a historical park. That needs to be fixed. The roads, infrastructure, and investing in our in streetlights. I think our community would be a lot safer if we had more streetlights. That's one of the things that I was going through about the with the gentrification and everything. One of the reasons why people think that it has to be gentrified and we have to bring in these big developers is because it's not safe. Well, if you put more streetlights in those communities, it becomes a safer neighborhood, period. And grocery stores. We need grocery stores in the hillside and in Lincoln Park, and we need to solicit business to make that happen. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. This question next goes to candidate Larson.
Thank you. In my experience of working with the legislature for the past 7 years, we have been really successful with bonding. Spirit Mountain, the Seawells, the medical district, The steam plant closed loop hot water system, this is a process that I know, that I understand, that I tell a good story, and we tell the right story as the community. I really have 3 priorities for the next year as it relates to bonding. And I appreciate that streets is something we all want to do more of. That is not going to qualify for bonding. You need to be able to make a case of regional significance with some very, very clear parameters. So we can do water investments, and so we have a plan to do some water investment upgrades because we provide the water to the entire region. WLSSD and the DEC have important projects, and the library is one of regional significance because we are the regional center. We are providing the resources outside of the city district to people across the community and across the region. So those are some of the examples of what I would choose to spend my legislative priority time on and some of the alignments that we already have. In addition, the legislative session, this is the best legislative session the city of Duluth has ever had. We have been championing an increase in LGA for 6 straight years. We finally got a permanent increase to local government aid that will help keep your property taxes down. We got the NLX passed through. We got Spirit Mountain this year. It is a tremendous year of opportunity, relationships, success, persistence, storytelling, and getting important projects over the finish line. And that's why it's time to accelerate, amplify, and keep the good work going.
Thank you. Let's see, same question on bonding to Mr. Reinert.
Great, thank you. I think the question was what would our maybe 2 or 3 priorities be in the
Yes.
2024 bonding session. Of course, I had an opportunity to be at the legislature for 3 terms in the House and then 2 in the Senate, an opportunity to work on projects at LSC and UMD, AMSOIL, the transit center downtown, the Duluth airport, both the new terminal and the parking ramps. So an opportunity to know the bonding process intimately. I will come back to streets because it is far and away the #1 issue that Duluthians are talking about. And I do think that there is an opportunity to take advantage of the current circumstances that we have, to partner with other regional centers, something that I did while I was in the legislature, bringing together their mayors and their council leaders to talk about the overburden, the infrastructure costs that we provide for an entire region, but only one community pays for. Local government aid is an offset to that, but it's not a sufficient offset. And one of the challenges we have is that the legislative makeup is now primarily suburban. They don't have aging infrastructure. So pairing with Minneapolis and St. Paul, we have an opportunity to talk about a generational investment. And we just came off President Biden doing the same thing at the national level. Duluth has street issues. Duluth has water, sewer, utility issues. That would far and away be my #1 request. My second one is something that we've already touched on. We really do have to look at something comparable to San Marco for our residents who are struggling with mental health and chemical dependency issues, so they have a safe place to call home and potentially options out of their addiction.
Thank you. We'll switch to another topic, and that is, now that the Lester Golf Course has been closed permanently, what would you like to see that property used for? Let's go first to candidate Reinert.
Great. Well, first of all, I disagree with the permanent closure. I think that there are options to move forward to continue to have public golf at Lester. I've had the opportunity to meet with countless individuals who are passionate and invested and have creative ideas on how to move forward in that location. But moving forward does require something that looks different. And one of the models that I've been really excited about is something that we've seen overseas in Europe. And I know we're not supposed to ever have comparables to Europe, but one of the opportunities we have as a northern climate is something like public golf that also incorporates active outdoor activities year-round. That can be running, that can be cycling, that can be cross-country skiing in the winter. I am a terrible cross-country skier, but I made a commitment last winter to try and get better and get out. And one of the most enjoyable experiences I had was a classic course that had been groomed down in Mattawa. And afterwards, what did we do? We all went into the clubhouse, 20 of us, and had dinner and helped make that restaurant's payroll for the week. So that combined with housing options, and those need to be housing options that take advantage of what the circumstances give us. So we always want to have a mind towards affordable, but we really need to find those market and even upper end opportunities so that individuals have the opportunities to move through it well. So we could really have a robust development there that continues to get Duluthians outdoors, preserves outdoor space, and also incorporates additional needed housing in our community.
Okay, thank you. We'll next go to candidate Mead.
Okay, I guess I would make it into a more functional park as well. There are housing ideas. Depends on where the city wants to go with Lester River, because that area, it's not really conducive to low income, because a lot of low income people don't have vehicles. The buses don't run out there as often as around the center of town. My ex-husband and I had actually looked at houses that were on golf courses. So that would be a way to kind of develop something out there too, if the community wanted to keep the golf course. But it would still be a public golf course. It wouldn't just be for the people who built houses and lived around it. The rest of it could be, I think, just really great trails. And I used to summer every year in Butte, Montana. My grandparents lived there, and there was just a spectacular swimming pool, public swimming pool. I really think that Duluth could use something like that. I don't know where the best area of it, but there's just so much to do with that area. It's gorgeous. It's one of my favorite places to drive and take pictures all year round. It's close to Seven Bridges Road, which I think is one of the most beautiful things in Duluth. I guess I would want to hear more from the community on what the community wants before I made a complete decision, because it's their tax, base and money, and we work for them. We would work for them.
Okay, thank you. And we'll go to candidate Larson.
Thank you. As I said earlier, I'm a mayor that is focused on decisions and solutions with lasting impact, and this is a perfect example. Residents of Duluth deserve great golfing. And for us to keep our resources scattered between two courses and to do it mediocre just isn't great. I'm excited about the $5.5 million we're investing in Enger with the consolidation plan that we have. And I want to thank our partners at St. Louis County, who at the same time work to preserve in perpetuity thousands of acres along the Lester River and through the Seven Bridges area only for green space. We are a city that has 30% parkland, and that is an amazing gift. It's what we all love about living here, and it's what makes building housing and adding density really challenging. Lester Park Golf Course needs to have housing, period. And this is where a mayor needs a vision, not just an idea. This question is perfect timing because next month, I think in the next week, we are releasing an RFP for a master plan and a master development for Lester River Golf Course. We are excited to partner and prioritize this and get this through the council process and public process this year. I want to thank the community. Hundreds of you have participated in helping us shape this vision that we have. Many people came forward with their own private proposals to operate a golf course, and I'm sorry that those were not ones that worked, but I am thrilled that it is going to be all directed up at Enger, which is geographically centered, and it's going to be a beautiful experience for our community. But Lester River needs to be housing.
Okay, thank you. I think we have time for one more question.
Great.
Let's do this one. What programs or services would you like to see implemented for the youth of Duluth? And that question first goes to candidate Larson.
Thank you for this question. We just got passed another win at the legislature, an extension, not a new tax, an extension of a tax that will begin in 2024 that has previously been dedicated fully to the West Duluth parks and has yielded $50 million in investment in the St. Louis River corridor, adding to people's quality of life and connecting people and kids to the outdoors. That will now apply to citywide parks. We are in the process right now of figuring out which parks, which facilities are the ones that we're going to be spending our time and attention on. Later this month, you are going to hear actually an announcement about sports facilities that we are working on across the city as well. I grew up, or I raised my kids who went to Grant Rec at a time when we had sports and youth programs funded by the city of Duluth. The fact that we don't have those now is really hard, and I wish we did. But what we can do is invest in our parks. People are letting us know that they love these destination and big parks that we are investing in. They're built for all of us, and we're investing in outdoor activities that bridge that adventure gap. That's funded through the Northland Foundation and other partners to make sure that these trails and parks are good for all kids and all families. But I'm thrilled that our planning process is underway now, so that beginning in 2024, we're going to be seeing more parks investments, because getting kids outside unprogrammed off their phone, that's the best kind of experience we can give our kids.
Thank you. We'll go next to candidate Reinert.
Great. Well, thank you for that question. I think one of the things that we have heard in our conversations is concern about the opportunity for kids to engage in outdoor active activities. And I'm a big runner, I'm a big trail runner. I think our trails are important, but our more structured activities are important as well. And I was actually the Senate author of the half-cent sales tax. So I do think that that's an interesting source of revenue to work on those ideas. Now, I realize that there is some heartburn in the community that after the park levy failed, that there was what's perceived as a legislative bypass in order to find additional revenues. But those revenues are needed. I think the approach that I would like to take is to have a systematic look at what are all of our assets. Where do we have regional hubs for activities within our community, like water activities out west, more of our hockey and structured programs, potentially around Freiburger up east. But we have to be mindful of this burden that has been shifted to the organizations that actually conduct these activities for our kids, whether it's DAHA taking on responsibility to operate ranks, or other organizations that like Chester Bowl that are taking on responsibility to operate that and even fundraise for the new chalet. We want to be a partner in that, but then also engaging those organizations and the Y and the Boys and Girls Clubs and the Valley Youth Center to actually do the programming at those activities. So even as we look at major hubs in our community, we want to keep those neighborhood parks and the community centers vibrant and active ones. And one of my priorities is to not lose any more community centers in our community.
Thank you. All right. We've heard from everyone on the questions.
Oh, Julie.
Excuse me. Hi.
That's
I'm
okay.
very sorry. Yes, thank you. Let's hear from candidate Mead.
I think that accessibility is really important. It should be across the board. I think that there should be like a central hub in the center part of Duluth, you know, the east side and the west. And I know that as talking to people that the west feels more neglected. And I think that that needs to definitely change. It's got to be equitable across the board, period. We can't give extra funding to one part of town. That's just not fair. We have that issue in the schools also, and I think that Chester Park is such a it's my favorite park. I absolutely love it. They have a ski hill there. I don't know why we couldn't let Spirit Mountain go to a private entity, private business, because then the city isn't on the hook so much, you know, throwing millions and millions and millions of dollars every single year. Make our skiing. We used to have an awesome ski hill. I remember watching Jim Denny when I was a little kid. He was in the Olympics, and it was just awesome. And ice skating and just hockey and everything. I was a little tomboy when I was younger because I was closest in age to my brothers, and we just went to Chester Park just about every day, and we lived in Chester Park and just absolutely loved it. It's just, but accessibility is the most important thing for all community members, period. So there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that concludes our questioning period. Thank you, everyone. Now we'll move on to closing statements. And at each time, each candidate can give a 2-minute closing statement. And we will begin with candidate Reinert.
Great. Well, I just want to start by thanking you again thank you again to the League of Women Voters for hosting us, to Emily and Julie for participating. And it would have been great if we'd had our other candidates as well. I think one of the great things about Duluth is we have active civic engagement. We care about our community. We're passionate about our community. And again, having a good contest in 2023 is healthy for our community. People are interested in talking about the issues. They're excited about what Duluth's next chapter might be. I'm glad that we had an opportunity to talk about housing, commercial tax-based development. I think we missed an opportunity to really, bad pun, dig into the streets issue, which is pressing on people's minds. The downtown Duluth, vision for downtown Duluth, and the affordable property tax burden, which is probably number 2 in what I hear as I talk with folks. But what I would say is over the next 4 years, when you elect a mayor, you might know what the issues are now, but you don't know what they might be. And so how we approach issues does matter. And you've had nearly 20 years to see me working in different facets, whether that's on the council or in the state legislature, whether that's my service in the Navy, my time in Afghanistan, deploying again at the start of COVID to Italy, the time that I had the opportunity to work at the deck during the pandemic. My goal is always to be thoughtful, to be approachable, to be hands-on. I have a history of bringing together diverse stakeholders to work on tangible problems and come out with practical solutions and implement those solutions. One of the things I love best about local government is the feedback loop is really short. If that's not the right answer, you're going to know it. And in Duluth, we're going to know it in a hurry, and we get the opportunity to try something different. So over that time, Duluth, you've had an opportunity to get to know a little bit about me, not just on these issues, but what you can expect as we work on other issues. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you. All right, we'll go next to candidate Mead.
I would say that the roads, safety, health and safety, housing the homeless, because that makes communities safer and healthier. Everybody should be able to walk wherever they want to in the city and not have to worry about being hurt. Transparency by government. I really feel like, because that's what I did when I was on the town board, is did an itemized expenditure list per quarter or monthly, however that can work out, so that the citizens know where their tax dollars are going. And if they don't like it, then they can voice concerns at the city council. I guess what I used to do, because I lived out on Fish Lake and I lived right by the Blue Max, and I used to teach pottery classes, is people would come to that, and then at the end of the class, then we would go to the Blue Max. And everybody would get together and talk, and just real casual, and be able to throw things at me that they didn't like that the town board was doing. And so then I was able to bring that back, and people can go online if you look up Friedenberg, because I was threatened by the rest of the supervisors and the people that were in controlling everything. I was threatened not to walk on the roads and everything, and I kept going. So instead of just audio taping and uploading that, we started videotaping, and then I started uploading those to YouTube. So you can see what I am like. I'm very transparent. I used to buy the township books so everybody in the township could know the laws. And I would hand those out. People could read through those and know what their rights were and if they were being treated arbitrarily. And and I'm going to get rid of the bag fee, period. I just think it's ridiculous. So we don't even mandate recycling, and everybody has to pay 5 cents. That goes back to the businesses. It doesn't even go back to helping the community. So, and the taxes are just outrageous. People are being priced out of their homes.
Thank you. We'll go next to candidate Larson.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters, thank you to PACT-TV, and thanks to all of you for paying attention to local elections. The choice is very clear, and to me, the energy, the vision, the stamina, the successes, the very specific deliverables that have happened under my administration create a very clear choice and distinction this year. The progress that we are making citywide is progress we need to continue, and we can't back away from it. It requires our full focus and our full investment. And I have to say that you have been very clear. Our values as a community are clear. Your commitment to your neighbors and taking care of our communities is clear. Ensuring that we're growing an economy that works for everyone is clear. And this is an opportunity to continue that important work that is making a difference, not just in our lives, but in the lives of our kids and our future. Together, our city will continue to lead. We will lead on climate and housing and equity and infrastructure. We will continue to support working families. My administration, with you, with this community, we've delivered on all of them. We have delivered in deep and real and meaningful ways. We have never backed down from the challenge of building economic vitality for a thriving community. And we will continue to lead. We will continue to innovate because this vision is our vision. It is the community's shared future and not simply an election promise or a single moment. My name is Emily Larson. I am mayor of Duluth. Our primary election is August 8th, and I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes this candidate forum for the office of Mayor of the City of Duluth. It's our purpose in sponsoring such meetings to provide you with an opportunity to hear the candidates discuss the issues that are important to you. There's never enough time to cover all the issues in a limited setting such as this. So if your questions were not addressed, you should feel free to contact the candidates directly. We hope this program has helped you to learn more about the candidates and the issues so that you can make informed choices at the polls on Tuesday, August 8th. We thank the candidates and PACT-TV for making this event possible. PACT-TV will carry this forum and others. Check their listing for a schedule of times. Links to these forums will also be on the League of Women Voters of Duluth website. Thank you, everyone, for participating.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.